Hello, my name is Edward Hunter and welcome to Madison, Illinois for highlights from the second round of the 2022 FSR Pro Stockcar Championship. Fabian Ballet led the sprint race from pole position, but fellow front row starter Ryan Elliott found himself being swamped by Victor Ivanov, Saido Veja and Arda Ercan. Ercan then went side by side with Veja on lap 3 as Michi Hoyer also challenged Elliott and looked to have the inside line into the last corner. Unfortunately, the RSR car made contact with the Burst eSports machine and both cars smashed into the wall and found themselves facing the wrong way. The safety car was then deployed, and after the restart, Ballet found himself being shuffled down to 5th as Alessandro Valente fought Victor Ivanov for 2nd and Ercan assumed the lead. Meanwhile, Veja found himself under attack from the ETCG racing car of Stan Velistra and the Netrex of Gianni Lianos. Loic Moynier saw an opportunity at turn 1 and tried to go up the inside of Lianos, but in doing so the Frenchman touched the Netrex and had a big moment, which Stavros Mercedes and Jake Denahan had to react quickly to avoid. Velistra then found Borgia Milan going up the inside and passed him at the final corner for 9th position, as up ahead, Veja challenged Donat Prodan for 7th. A mistake from Ivanov dropped him to 5th behind Ballet. On the final lap, the pair attempted to challenge Carlos Martin for the final spot on the podium, but it ended calamitously as the trio tangled at the last corner and slammed chaotically into the wall, leaving them to limp over the finish line. It was an excellent sprint race victory for Ercan though to take the championship lead. Valente was also impressive on the way to the runners-up spot as Damien Skovron benefited from the last-minute crash to complete the podium. Martin and Prodan gained 11 places to finish 4th and 5th ahead of Veja, Milan and Moynier. Ballet limped home in 9th, just pipping Velistra, who would start from pole in a reverse grid feature race. Velistra led the start of the 66-lap feature race, but soon found himself under attack from a fired-up Ballet. However, he couldn't get up the inside at the final corner, and Moynier then used the draft to sweep around the outside in his Team Iris car, relieving the German of 2nd position. Moynier then made a bid for the lead around the outside and pulled it off, as Ballet found himself also being passed by Milan for 3rd. Ballet then found a way through Velistra to get back onto the podium, but Veja got crossed up and was forced wide, leading to disastrous consequences as he bounced off the wall and into the side of Valente, gluing both cars together and causing a pile-up that ripped off Valente's front wheel, took Veja out of the race and caused the first of many safety cars. Ercan and Prodan went side by side at the restart, with the Visceral eSports driver pulling off the move on the outside to gain 5th. Then it was Martin's turn, diving his Netrex up the inside of Ercan at the last corner before Mercedes then added more pain by executing a move of his own on the TX3 driver. Prodan then set his sights on Velistra, passing him for 4th as Mercedes and Martin shadowed them behind in the draft. Zolt Zux was tagged around by Danny Van Den Eet, leading the ground effect to drift around the banking and into Thomas Vash's RSR car. Ercan then had a big scare as he pushed the limit a little bit too hard at the final corner and bounced off the barrier, allowing Lianos, Jukapeka Lalu and Denahan to overtake him. Ivanov spun at the apex of turn 1, causing chaos behind as Chris Shepard hit Henk Steinaker, bringing out safety car number 2. The pit lane opened for lead lap cars at the end of lap 19 and Lalu was the first to roll the dice, as Martin pit a lap later from 7th but sped in the pit lane and had to serve a drive-through under safety car. Moynier once again maintained the lead at the restart, but Velistra found himself slipping and sliding as Prodan and Voznica went the long way around the outside of him at turn 1. Ballet was the pair's next victim as they continued to utilise the outside line, as Mercedes was next to squeeze his way past as he went 3 wide with Ballet and Velistra. Voznica dispensed of Prodan to get himself on the podium, but Mercedes then made a bid for 4th with a bold dive at the final corner. Ballet and Prodan made contact, which allowed the Valet to make a break for it. Ballet continued to lose ground as Denahan and Velistra slipstreamed past him, but then the two began to fight each other, giving Ballet a run until he once more tagged the wall at the final corner. Prodan was the next driver to make way for Denahan, with the Irishman narrowly surviving his own brush with the wall of death. But then caution number 3 was thrown as Van Den Eet spun around Velistra at turn 1. Most of the field dived in for their pit stop, but Moynier bucked the trend, staying out to hold on to track position. Lalu, Vash and Martin lined up behind, having pitted earlier. Moynier led the restart dangerously low on fuel as Skovron caught the front wheel of Milan, losing the pair several positions. Then unthinkably, they repeated the feat on lap 40, and the result was complete carnage and chaos for all the cars behind them. After what NASCAR fans only refer to as the big one, Anthony Nippon drove the safety car out once more as Moynier pit from the lead, emerging in 30th. New leader Lalu maintained the race lead at the restart as Hoyer overtook Harry Smith for 4th. Voznica was hot on his heels though, fighting his way around the outside of the burst car and dragging Velistra with him. Vash now challenged Lalu for the lead and muscled his way through on lap 40, only to give a draft to the Netrex of Martin behind, who went up the inside and challenged number 47 for victory. The Spaniard finally pulled clear at the last corner and gave a tow to his teammate Voznica, who used it to pass Lalu and Vash, making it a Netrex 1-2. Velistra was challenging Lalu's Royal Blue racing car for the top 4 when all of a sudden Hoyer spun around on the back straight and the two TX3s of Ballet and Erchan were sent crunching into the wall. This brought out the 5th caution period. Martin and Voznica controlled the restart from the front, but it was 3 wide behind as Denahan defended 7th from Musadis and Ricardo Costa. Meanwhile, Velistra fended off Smith and then made light work of Lalu's Royal Blue car as Ballet was on the offensive, passing Costa for 9th. Smith could do nothing to hold back the sister Netrex of Denahan, who charged through at turn 1 on fresher tyres, with Musadis and Ballet demoting Smith a further 2 positions in quick succession. Martin was managing his tyres well to keep Voznica at bay, but Vash was struggling and saw the podium slip away into the hands of Velistra. The Dutchman lit up his rear tyres on the exit of turn 1, but Vash could not retake the position, meaning he was backed up into the chasing pack and left very vulnerable. Lalu was the first to attack, choosing the outside line and creating a draft for those behind to follow in. Just behind, Ballet made a botched attempt to pass Musadis as Denahan followed Lalu through past the RSR car. Voznica pushed for all he was worth in a bid to steal victory, as did Lalu trying to nudge his way onto the podium, but it was all to no avail as Carlos Martin took his first victory in FSR since 2014, despite a drive-through penalty, an injured leg and filling in the last minute as a reserve. Voznica fought back from 18th to 2nd as Velistra just held on to the final podium spot from Lalu. Denahan had a strong comeback drive to 5th as Musadis pipped Vash over the line for 6th. Ballet, Smith and Costa rounded out the top 10. Erchan was a disappointed 11th after his sprint victory, ahead of Hoyer, Lianos, Roberto Pinataro, Prodan, Van der Neek, Kevin Morville, Zux, Mirko Mancini and Steneker completing the top 20. Ryan Mazumder was 21st, ahead of Moynier, whose strategy cost him a chance of a podium. Massimiliano Riboli was 23rd, beating Matthias Harvig, Milan, Liam Howard, Alexei Sayalev, Ivanov, Matt Tucson, House Sonneveld, Shepard and Skovron, with Valente, Elliott, Rainey and Vire all failing to finish. At midpoint in the season, here's how the championship standings looked after round 3. Arda Erchan led the championship by 3 points over Jake Denahan, who retained his 2nd place. Martin lost 2 places through his role in the crash at the end of the sprint race, meaning him and Ballet were tied for 3rd. Prodan was 5th ahead of Velistra, Skovron and Mercedes were equal for 7th, Voznica was 9th with Borgia Milan completing the top 10. The field then moved on to Apple Valley for the California 175 before the season finale at Daytona 225 on the 13th of November. But from me, Edward Hunter, and from Gateway, it's goodbye.